Hi, Mohit.
Hi,
Hi.
is it Swati?
Yes, yes. Are we waiting for some more people or how?
Swati, I have no idea. We never got the participant list.
Okay.
So we have Lakshmi on the call. I'm just waiting for her confirmation if we have all the required participants and we can get started.
25, approx 25 are there.
Okay, because I could see only around 14.
40.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you can start with a brief introduction by the time I'm calling to the rest of the people.
Totally makes sense. Thank you, Swati. Yeah,
Welcome.
perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm assuming most likely it will be first day for most of you in the new year. Right now I'm working for a US partner and they had off yesterday. So because if you see, the new year actually happened on Saturday in most of the countries. So all of them have floating holiday on Monday. So happy new year. Welcome to this new batch. So I don't know if they have shared the curriculum with all of you. We will give you a course introduction, basically wherein we will set the expectations as well. Before that, I'll give you a brief about my profile. Let me share my screen. I hope it works. Just give me a minute. I'm just sharing my screen. I think I should be able to share my screen. Yes, I can. I'm the host. Perfect. So I'll give you a brief about my profile. So I started my professional career in 2005. Basically, I graduated from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. I'm basically from Punjab. After I graduated, I worked for a bank called State Bank of India. And if you recall, SBI was the first bank to launch online banking platform for their customers. And I was fortunate enough to work as a business analyst for that particular initiative. So it was a great opportunity wherein we learned, a lot about retail banking and a bit about corporate banking as well, because these were the core functionality that we offered at that point of time in the online banking space. So after my stint with SBI, I got to work with Royal Bank of Canada, wherein we launched a loan origination and loan servicing module. Basically, there's a product called Finacle. I don't know how many of you have heard about Finacle. So we launched that product. So again, a fantastic experience because it was completely new product development. We started with the POC and then we did the pilot, and it was a great experience to work for that particular customer as well. Today, Finacle is in almost 83 countries. Those days, that product was still natively very new product. So we worked on that. After that, I took a career break, and so I did my MBA, a one-year executive MBA in finance. So after MBA, I went to Sydney. Therein, I worked for a customer called Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Now, if you know, Commonwealth Bank of Australia is the world leader in digital payments. So they were the first bank to launch social payments. If you heard about social payments, right now we have UPI. In Europe, we have open banking. So in US, we have Zelle. So a lot of social payments are coming up as of today. but that time the concept was completely new. So it was exciting, experience working with Commonwealth Bank of Australia, because we worked on latest technologies as a business analyst, which is like, as I said, social payments. And then we also worked with schemes and payment networks like MasterCard and Visa, and launched something called Wallet. And now everybody knows Wallet, but it was one of the first bank to launch Wallet for the customer. So we worked on that as well. Exciting, learning experience. And then I wanted to come back to India. Then I came back to India. I worked with HSBC for a couple of years, again into payments. So payments, if you see, has seen a revolution in the last decade. So I was fortunate enough to be part of that journey. So we worked on open banking, we worked on SEPA rollout, we worked on FX settlement, and all that was completely, we worked from scratch, led from India. So the change that happened when I joined HSBC, before HSBC, it was always a PA role. And then when I joined HSBC, it became a product owner role. And now again, I'm working with a couple of banks on various, latest digital initiatives. So this is a brief about my profile. Also, I'm associated as a trainer with a lot of corporates. With your, I think, organization, it is my first batch. But if you see the other organizations that have given the corporate batches, including, HCL, TCS, Infosys, Capgemini. We went to Sri Lanka as well, and we did it for Sri Lankan Airlines. And to my surprise, they are very, very tech savvy, because when we compare it to Air India, so I was a little surprised that how Sri Lankan Airlines are so tech savvy, and they are building state-of-the-art digital products for the customer. We actually went to Qatar as well, United Arab Shipping Corporation. We did batches for them as well. Then we went to Dubai for GBM, UST Global, and the list is growing as we speak today. So all of these corporates that we have worked with, we have seen is that some of them call us for PMP batches, some of them call us for Agile batches. In Agile, we have multiple flavors. We have Scrum, we have Scaled Agile. But most of the corporates, they invite us for CBAP batches, basically a batch on business analysis. And this is also the batch which will be dedicated on business analysis. Basically, we will be letting you know what are the best practices that you should follow when you work as a business analyst on any initiative. So this is a brief about me, and I'm excited to be part of this batch. And before we continue, I really need to know my student as well, so that I understand the batch profile, and accordingly I can then design the curriculum for this particular batch. So when you give your introduction, you can unmute yourself one by one. So all I want to know is your years of experience and what is your current role. So that is very, very important, whether you are a developer or whether you are a quality assurance guy, or whether you're actually working as a business analyst. And also, if you have attended any professional certification before, so if you have already done, CCBA or CBAP, or if you have attended any Agile curriculum, please do let me know as well. So that will really help me understand the profile of this entire batch. And accordingly, then I can, pick up the pace and design the curriculum as per your skill sets. So we'll go one by one, and hopefully other participants will be joining as well. So I start with Akbar. Hi, Akbar. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, Mohit. Good morning, everyone. So, hi, my name is Akbar. working with NSCIT as a business analyst, and I'm working here from 13 years. Started working as a business analyst, and currently I have a small team of business analysts with 3 BAs working along with us.
Very nice, Akbar. 13 years is a long time. So all 13 years, Akbar, with NSCIT, sorry.
Yes.
Very nice, very nice. Thanks, Akbar, for joining. We'll move to Aniket. Hi, Aniket, you can unmute.
Hello.
Hey, Aniket.
Yeah, hi, Aniket Telang this side. So I've been working as technical lead in cloud at NSCIT, and I have a total 5 years of experience in IT industry.
Very nice.
So I basically come from infrastructure background.
Okay, you come from infrastructure background. Okay, so in my latest assignment, I'm actually working, with some of the infrastructure expert. The reason being because infrastructure is a broad term. I understand that.
Yeah.
And we are actually launching collaboration products to be able to interact with our customers, basically audio video calling, and all of that has to be monitored and properly surveilled as per the regulations defined by FINRA, SEC, and so on. So glad to have you, Aniket. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Akshay.
Hi, hello. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ashay Matre, and can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So I have 8 years of professional experience, and 5 years I've been working as a project manager. With NSCIT, I'm working as a assistant manager for projects, and I have completed MBA in operations and also completed CSM, Certified Scrum Master. Yeah, that's it.
Very nice, Aniket. Thank you. So, Aniket, when you did your CSM, your voice is a little feeble. So, when you completed your CSM,
Ashay, not Aniket.
Sorry, Ashay. Yeah. So, Ashay, when you completed your CSM?
1.5 years back.
1.5 years back, and total 8 years of experience, right?
Yes.
And right now you're working as a project manager.
Yes. Yes.
Very nice. Okay, your voice was a little feeble. Sorry, that's why I couldn't hear properly. Perfect. Okay, thank you, Ashish. We'll move to next one. Hi, Ashish. Or we have done Ashish, right?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashish Singh. I'm working as a test analyst, and I have total year of experience of 6 years.
Okay, great. So one of the best things about being from quality assurance is that we have seen a lot of people after a certain period of time in quality assurance, they actually become business analysts as well. If you see in Commonwealth Bank of Australia, when I was working with them, they started hiring business analysts from the QA pool. And the reason they started doing that is because the QA folks, they understand the systems really well. And with their experience, they start understanding the domain as well. So very glad to have you as well. Thank you, Ashish.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move to next one. Swati, you saying something?
Yeah, Mohit,
Yeah.
like just to brief and quickly, we move to content, and the thing is that over here you have the entire group. It is not dedicated to any specific team. You found the managers over here, the BA team, the quality assurance and control team. Ashish belongs to the quality control team who is participating in the testing, and quality assurance team members are also about to join. Over and above that, business folks like Ashay, Gaurav is from BA, Mansoor and Roshan These people belongs to the business team, and there are some other members also. Like we have tried to come together all the representatives from all the departments, because when we are developing our solution, all these are interacting and they are supposed to give the requirements to the BAs. So Jayesh is heading that BA team, and Jayesh and team is primarily articulating the requirements for them. You need to define the content in such a way that, okay, while they are taking the requirement, how they need to take it. And because there would be multiple set of requirements in which business people are not able to tell that, okay, they should convey this at the time of briefing about the requirement to the business analyst. And the restriction with business team is they are not aware. They will talk open endedly that, okay, whatever is there, they will give to the BA, then you draft it. So you need to define the content in such a way that when you are giving the requirements, how you need to give it, and when they are BAs taking the requirements, how they need to articulate it, especially non-functional requirements. It is very easy to define the functional scenarios, but there are multiple expectations in respect of non-functional requirements, which is to be covered very nicely. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Swati. Thanks, Swati. And very valid point. If you see business requirement elicitation, it's a collaborative effort. And you're absolutely right, Swati, that everybody has to play its role, whether you are from QA or whether you are from technology. And this is what we will learn as part of this entire curriculum. Thank you, Swati.
Okay, and we need to utilize this 3 hours time very nicely, because exams are going on and these people have very time restrictions. After 11, they will start running here and there.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So Swati, do we have everybody now? Can we get started or?
Yeah, please start.
Okay, great. So I was just hoping, to reach the number 25, and as you read, but now you confirm that we have the full batch, so we can get started. Okay, great. Thank you, Swati. So let me start. So before we get started, requesting everybody to please be on mute. This is just to avoid static noise. And what you can do is, if at any point of time you have a query, you can immediately unmute yourself and ask your query. So we'll keep it very interactive session. Do not park your queries towards the end of the session. It will unnecessarily create confusion. At any point of time you have a query, you can just stop me there and then. So let's get started. I could see we already have 18 participants and more people will be joining in. So from tomorrow onwards, my request to everybody, please be on time. As Swati said that we have to finish by 11. So please be on time so that we can make most of these 3 hours. Okay, so let's get started. I'll share my screen. And thanks, Swati, for giving me a high-level introduction for the entire batch. So we can get started now. Yes, I'm sharing my screen. So, there's a lot to cover, definitely. And if you talk about business analysis, this entire role has evolved, throughout the years. So let me open a notepad. So I generally prefer to write a lot of things on notepad, because this way we make sure that everybody is in sync. Yeah. So how it happens is that if you see, when I started working with the SBI, so I was working as a system analyst. Okay. And then after the SBI, when I started working for, even for Royal Bank of Canada, I would say I was more like a system analyst, even though my designation was of a business analyst. And then when I joined CBA, I was actually working as a business analyst. And now when I work directly with banks like HSBC and so on, so I work as a product owner. Okay. And I started as a product owner. Now, you know, my designation is a product manager. So in this entire curriculum, we will understand, you know, what is the difference between these three roles. That is very, very important. Now, please understand, we can have any designation. Every organization give fancy designations, right? Some people, some organizations give vice presidents, EVP, presidents, and so on. Some organizations started giving directors and so on. So this designation doesn't mean anything. It just means your seniority level within the organization, but the role is completely different. So when we interview people, we do hire people as well, you know, for various banks. So we always ask for their role, what role is actually they are playing. So let's see, you know, if you're working on a project. So I'll take an example of SBI. And this entire curriculum will be based on a book called PA Bob. Now, I understand, as Swati was telling, that some of you are already working as a business analyst. So some of you must have heard about this book. This is Business Analysis Body of Knowledge. So this book was released in 2005. So this was exactly the year when I started my professional career. So in this book, what they have explained is what are the tasks need to be done by business analysts. So we will cover all those tasks in detail as part of this curriculum. Okay, so if you see this book, and I will be sharing this copy with all of you. So let me show you this book. So when I started, it was version 1. Then very soon it came version 2.0. And now this version 3.0 has come. So if you see, as I said, that the book name is Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, and we will be covering this entire book as part of this 5 days curriculum. Now, this particular book, as I was saying, explains the tasks which are executed by business analysts. And what I've done is I've actually done the summary of those tasks here for all of you. So these are the total tasks which are defined. So there are total 60 tasks which are 30 tasks which are defined in BABOK. Okay, so these 30 tasks are nothing but the tasks which are done by business analysts. And for every task, what they have explained is the information that you require in order to execute those tasks. So that information that you need as a business analyst to execute those tasks, we call it as inputs. So we will be explaining you about inputs as well. And the information that you gain once you finish those tasks, we call it as output. Okay, so we will cover those output as well. Also, we will be covering some of the techniques, very important techniques that you can use in order to execute those tasks. So this is very, very important. So we will cover those techniques as well. And if you see BABOK, the copy will be shared by Lakshmi with all of you after this first session. If you see BABOK, these 30 tasks are divided, if you see here, into 6 knowledge areas. Okay, so this, they call it as knowledge areas, but knowledge area is nothing but a category of the task. Okay, so all the strategy related tasks are defined in a category called, or a knowledge area. They use the term knowledge area. All the strategy related tasks are defined in strategy analysis. All the elicitation related tasks are defined in elicitation knowledge area, and so on. So we have total 6 knowledge areas that we will cover as part of this curriculum. Okay. Okay. And also for every knowledge area, I will be showing you the sample documents as well. So when I've worked for one of my customer, United Arab Shipping Corporation, we actually created sample documents for them. It's a proprietary material. It belongs to USC now because we created for them, but I can show you a copy of some of the documents so that you can understand the practical, application of these 30 tasks. And also after every knowledge area, we will be having a quiz in the session. Okay. A fun quiz just to understand, just to make sure that all of you are listening to me, right? And so we will have a quiz after every knowledge area within the session itself. And also we are planning to have, a 50 question quiz exam, probably next weekend. It will be 1 hour exam, which will test your understanding about these 6 knowledge areas. Okay, so it will be 1 hour exam. So approximately you will have 1 minute per question, or 10 minutes grace we have given because all of you need some time to settle down. But it will be 1 hour exam wherein you have to sit for 50 questions, attempt 50 questions, and the passing mark that we have kept is 50%. So basically, at least you have to score 50% in this exam to make sure that you have actually understood these knowledge areas at a high level. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover as part of this 5-day curriculum. Also, apart from these knowledge areas, we will try to cover something on Agile as well. Because if you see the way this BA walk is written, it was completely waterfall oriented when they wrote these knowledge areas in 2005. But now all of us, most of the teams are migrating to Agile world. So we will also discuss about Agile in the last session. And also I will tell you that how you execute these knowledge areas in the Agile, world. Okay, so this will be covering in the last section. Okay, so let's get started. Any questions from anyone?
Sir, regarding the exam,
it will be multiple choice. It will be multiple choice. So, yeah,
okay.
So 4 questions, 4 or 2 options will be there, and one of them will be correct.
Okay, sir.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get started. Now, whenever I give this entire curriculum, I always take an example of a case study so that all of you can visualize what we're talking about. So I'll take an example of my first project, which is very close to my heart, which is State Bank of India. So what we did was, for State Bank of India was, they approached us and they said that we want to offer online banking for our customer. So guys, please be on mute. Make sure that all of you are on mute just to avoid static noise. Whenever you have any query, you can unmute yourself. Okay, perfect. So SBI, basically, as I said, they came to us in 2005 that they want to offer online banking for their customer. We started working on this. It was completely waterfall at that point of time. It was not Agile. And the first release happened in 2006. And then, we had a major upgrade in 2007. So I worked on this project for around 2 years. So tell me one thing, let's say you are working as a business analyst and a bank like SBI. Now, if you see a lot of new banks are launching, if you have heard, just yesterday, there's a bank called Fino Payments Bank. It has been approved by Reserve Bank of India to start, even forex settlements, which is inward remittances for their customer. It's a big news for a payment bank. Because if you see the payment banks like Paytm or Airtel Payments Bank, they are never allowed to, offer FX products for the customer. Now, Fino Payment Bank, which is actually a very, very popular payment bank, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities, because they help in domestic remittances or domestic payment transfer. So it has been approved by RBI to even offer international remittances. So if you see in today's world, new banks are coming up. If we have NBFC, they are becoming, payment banks. Once they become a payment bank for a few months, then they apply the license for small finance bank. Once they have successfully delivered as a small finance bank for a few months, then they apply for a full banking license. So whenever, a new bank comes up, one of the major things that they need to do is they have to launch a digital portal, right? And for the customer, whatever existing digital portal they have might be outdated, because now they can start, or they have to majorly upgrade that digital portal to showcase their latest offering, which has been now allowed by Reserve Bank of India. So if somebody approaches you, if we say from an SBI point of view that they want to launch online banking for the customer, so what according to you should be the first task a business analyst should be doing? So Neelam, regarding the certificate, you'll get the certificate from Learning Deck, and I will actually tell you, the relevance of the certificate as well. Okay. So what, according to you, I'm asking the participants now, should be the first task? So let's say today is the first day. I am your customer. I represent State Bank of India, and you are my vendor partner, and I am seeking your help to launch online banking for our customer, right? So what, according to you, should be your first task when you start working? Requirement gathering. Okay.
Means what is the exact requirement, whether it is customized or they have standardized requirement, or it would be just something generic. So
Okay.
that is more precisely needs to be taken down.
Right. Okay.
May I just take your name, please? Hello.
Yeah.
May I take your name, please?
Mohit.
Mohit, there's just one request. Is this session is recording?
Yes, this session is getting recorded.
Okay. The reason I asked because I'm in a very bad state of health and going through a very high fever. I was tired to attend the meeting, which I'm not able to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So can later I can get the link and I can view it.
No, see, we will share the link, but better if we like parallelly we can at least share to him. Otherwise, later on, won't be able to get the benefits actually. Everyone will follow this pattern in that case. We all are in same bucket, or we all are suffering, like the exams are going on. Jayesh is also there. So, but we have to, at least for 3 hours, we have to manage.
No, I'm unable because I'm under very high fever.
You can take a rest. I'm okay with that. If you want to keep it running online, it's fine. And definitely we will provide this to you. But the thing is that please people, I will request you all not to follow this pattern.
No, I'm not want to follow this pattern. It's only the season I'm really not well since last.
Yes. Yeah, in that case, you can take a break, not a problem.
Thank you.
No worries at all. As Swati rightly said, we will have the recordings as well. Our request to everybody, make sure that you attend this, live, so that you can ask doubts. And but if in case for any particular session, for any personal emergency, you are not able to attend, do not worry. You guys will have the access to recording. Please go through the recording, and this will help you, pick up whatever you have missed for that particular session. But as Swati rightly said, please try to attend as much as you can. Okay, so one of the answers that it came was requirement gathering. So basically, when any customer approaches you, you never start with requirement gathering straight away. You have to do a lot of work before you even start talking about requirements. Okay, and this is what we're gonna speak today, which is strategy analysis. Okay, so the first thing that you do is basically you understand the business need of the customer. Okay, so what we did over here was, when we understood the business need of the customer, was that when they approached us for the online banking, we asked them why they are even thinking about online banking. Please recall, I'm talking about 2005 year, around 20 years ago, when I started my professional career. None of us had, a banking. None of us had mobiles at that point of time. Very few people had pagers. None of us had laptops. We had PCs with very limited computing power. And even the phone, the telecom connectivity was not the way it is, the way we have it today in the market. If you have to do a call, if you remember, we used to had STD booths, right? And we used to go to the STD booths, and then we used to make a phone call. So they were talking about online banking in 2005. The first thing that we did was we actually tried to understand the business need of the customer, why they are looking for this particular, online banking feature. What we did was we spent a lot of time in understanding the current state. We'll talk about this today, how you understand the current state. So when we worked with SBI, so at that point of time, we understood, the people, the products, the services, the procedures, their geographical distribution, or their geographical presence in India at that point of time. When we say people, we talk about both internal and external stakeholder. So what kind of org structure they have, the employees, skill sets they have, what kind of customer segments they have, right? Apart from the customer segments, what are the vendors they work with, what are the regulators they work with, and so on. So we understood their current state really well. We asked a lot of questions about that. And then when they said they are looking for online banking, we were able to understand something called why online banking. This is very, very important. Okay, so we defined that for the customer, that why they need online banking today. So we understood the problems with the current state and the root cause of those problems with the current state, and then we established the fact that why do they need online banking features for the customer. So when we analyze the current state, as I'm telling you, we figured out that the customer segments were growing, and they were not able to address the problem from the customer segments, the kind of products they were offering, the scale at which they wanted to offer these products. They were not able to offer that as part of the branch banking. Even the services were really poor. The customer experience in the services was really poor. Even if you have to check the account balance, you have to go to the visit the branch, stand in the queue, and then you were able to, they'll let you know the account balance. And most of the time when customers used to walk in, they never used to carry proper ID documents. And then the cashier or the branch staff used to tell them to come next day with the proper ID documents so that they can tell the account balance. The procedures were completely, outdated, not up to date. The RBI, if you remember, they were changing the regulations at a very, very fast pace in 2005, and their procedures were not up to date at all. Their geographical distributions was, the kind of products and services they were offering was more and more, concentrated, and wherein in 2005, more and more customers were starting coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well, and they were not able to cater to those customers the way they were able to cater the customer in tier 1. So when we understood the current state, we figured out the problems with the current state, and then when we understood the problems with the current state, we said that okay, now the online banking that they're asking, whether that can address some of the problems with the current state. So the first thing that we did was, as I said, we understood, the business need of the customer. So once we understood the problem in the current state and the root cause of the problem, of those problems, then we did something called future state. Okay. So current state was done, and then we started defining the future state. Anybody can tell me what exactly we did in defining the future state? Anybody over the chat? Or sorry, I didn't hear that.
It was just some personal talk, I think.
Oh,
You can
okay.
continue.
Oh, yeah, oh, no worries. So in future state, what we did was we actually wrote the business requirement. So we call it something called BRD. Now, in order to write the BRD, you need to understand the current state really well. You need to have a solid understanding of the problem and the root cause of the problem as well. You know why you need to have that solid understanding? Because your BRD is nothing but the capabilities that you require in order to address the root cause of the problem that you're trying to solve. So you cannot write a BRD, or you cannot have a complete BRD till the time you have understood your problem really well, and you have actually understood the root cause of the problem, and then you define the capabilities to address those root cause. Okay. So in the BRD, so when we said, in the now online banking, now if you see online banking, if I show you the online banking, so this is how online banking looks now, right? It's really, really complicated. We have customer segments like personal, NRI. These are all different type of customers. Every customer need different product. I am a personal customer for ICICI Bank. So when I click on personal, they give the products which are applicable to me, which is nothing but the home loan, auto loan, fixed deposit, and so on. If I'm an NRI, I need a product which is more from an FX point of view. If I'm a business customer, I will be requiring, maybe the trade finance products. If I'm a corporate customer, I need products like payroll and so on. So basically, this is what the online banking looks like as of today. But I'm talking about in 2005, when we wrote the BRD, we have to, help customer understand what kind of features they wanted in the online banking. Okay. So what features will you include in the online banking, which you have to document as part of the BRD, only once you understand, as I said, the current state. So we have, as I said, products, services, and so on. So we figured out that, we need to start with something called as basic as everyday banking functions. So everyday banking functions like, we saw that the most common customer pain point was just to check something as basic as account balance, do some payments. That time we launched only two type of payments, which was NFT and RTGS. There was no other type of payments like IMPS and so on. Account statements, people really need that, right? And all of that. So how you will be able to define what everyday banking functions are required is something you will be only able to define once, as I said, you understand your current state really well. And please remember, when you write the BRD, even in 2005, when we were working on this particular program, it was not that a requirement gathering. So we were not sitting in front of SBI and expecting that SBI will tell us what they need. In fact, all of us worked together and we discovered the requirements together, right? So that's the reason we use a word called elicitation and not requirement gathering, because elicitation is basically discovering the requirements along with your customer. Whereas gathering is something is you just ask the customer what they need and then you start delivering as per the customer expectation. But in today's world, the kind of problems we are solving, you cannot expect customers to give you fully defined requirements. You have to work along with your customer. It could be your internal customer in the case of National Stock Exchange, or if you're working for an external customer, if let's say you are a vendor for an external customer. So you have to work with the customer and discover the requirements together. So this is what we did in Define Future State, wherein we define the business requirement document. Okay. So what we did after third, anybody? What will be the third task? So we are talking about the knowledge area called strategy analysis. Okay. So strategy analysis, the first task that you do is you define the business need of the customer, wherein you understand the current state, the problem they are facing, and the root cause of the problem. And then you define the future state, wherein you define the business requirement document, which is nothing but the capability to address those root cause. Okay. So once you have done the BRD, anybody over the chat, please, what do you do in a third task? I mean, just as per your experience and understanding. Anybody want to try over the chat? Or you can unmute yourself as well.
Take approval from the customer on the prepared BRD.
Very nice, Shadab. So that will be covered as part of task 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say you have an approved BRD. What we will do? Let's say you got to know for this particular project that this is what kind of features they are looking in online banking. I've just written a very high level BRD here, that account balance, payments, account statement, and so on. So which is nothing but everyday banking function. So the third thing that we did was, I'm talking about 20 years ago, and this actually holds true even today's solution. The biggest thing, the biggest problem in today's world when I work with any customer, what I have seen is right from day one, people start talking about solution. So whenever you're working as a business analyst, you have to make sure that people do not talk about solution until these first 2 tasks are done. This is very, very important, because if you start talking about solution without even understanding the business requirements or without even understanding the business need, which is nothing but the problem that you're trying to solve or opportunity that you're trying to address, you can never have a well-defined solution. So what we did here when we started working on the BRD was, so we first gave the solution, high-level solution design. So wherein we discussed various solution options. Now online banking could be through, it could be direct banking. All the options that we gave, direct banking was over the phone. So you can actually call a centralized number, and then you can do the verification over the telecom, and then you get to know your account balance and so on. So this was one of the options we discussed looking at the BRD. We also discussed, something called SMS banking. As I said, that time we had something called pagers. So we explored, if somebody has to check account balance, can we give them an option to check the account balance as part of SMS banking? So they can use their pagers to, check the account balance, even check the account statement, and even can do the payments as well. And also we said, okay, can we have something called, a website? So we discussed all of that in the high-level solution design, and then finally we gave the solution recommendation. And we said that, looking at our understanding of the current state, the kind of people they have, we saw that, the people that we work with, very few of them, the customers, they have pagers. So SMS banking is out of, option. Direct banking, as I said, it was very difficult to achieve because one of the, the business problem of the customer was the cost of banking became very high, and direct banking, if you see, is as costly as branch banking, because even for that, when you have to establish the phone banking, you need to have the complete telecom infrastructure. You need to have a customer, call center. Basically, you have to have an office space where the employees will be sitting out, based out of, and they will be addressing the customer calls and so on. So direct banking, again, it was costly. So finally we said, okay, the website is the best solution to go for. So once we have that solution, what according to you should be the fourth task? Now you understand why we need to have the solid understanding of the current state and the business requirement, because you cannot give the solution recommendation until and unless you understand your business need and the future state really, really well. Okay. So we gave the solution recommendation, and then anybody can tell me what is the fourth task we should do as a business analyst. Anybody over the chat or phone call? Sorry, they can unmute themselves as well. Okay, the fourth task that we do is something called risk assessment. Now, every solution will have certain risk, right? So over here, you need to understand as a business analyst, what are the risks associated with this solution? So not only risk, you need to understand assumptions that you are making, the issues that you are currently facing, and the dependency that you have to resolve. This is nothing but your rate log. Okay, risk, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. So you need to do the risk assessment. This is very, very important. Because whenever you are recommending any solution, you have to make sure that your customer understand what are the risks associated with that particular solution. Okay, and for the risk assessment, now risk assessment has become a formal, I would say, a department in every bank. That time when we used to do risk assessment, we used to, randomly speak to various stakeholders, and they used to share their understanding of the various risks, and we used to articulate risk in such a manner. But right now we have a dedicated legal compliance audit department who actually analyze these first three, task output, and then they are able to define risk, assumptions, issues, and dependencies for you. Any question from anyone, please? Sridhar, you have unmuted yourself. Anything you want to ask?
No, sir.
Okay, no worries. So, so then we call it as, the risk assessment. So we'll talk about that as well today, risk assessment. This is the 4th task. And what, according to you, will be the 5th task? The 5th task that we do is change strategy. You define something called change strategy. Basically, over here, you define, you actually tell the customer how will you deploy the solution. Okay, so this is also very, very important. For example, when we worked on social payments with CBA, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, so we said, okay, we will be, so social payment is nothing but you make a payment to a phone number or an email ID. So now, right now in India, social payments is through UPI. You can do that, by making a payment to a phone number. But I'm talking about in 2010, we launched that, making a payment to a phone number or an email ID. So we said how we will deploy this solution, right? Basically, whether it will be a big bang approach, wherein we will deploy it to all the customers in one go, or it will be a phased approach, wherein we can have a pilot and then slowly we can add more customers for this solution adoption. And also you define something called transition requirement. This is very, very important, which are temporary requirements that hold true during the transition period. So it includes your training, your, writing your FAQs and all the marketing collaterals and so on. So we define the change strategy document as well for our customer. All of that was covered as part of the knowledge area called strategy analysis. Okay. So after change strategy, the last thing that we did, anybody can tell me what we did the last thing in the strategy analysis? Anybody over the chat, please? You don't have to unmute yourself. I mean, if you have anything, anybody over the chat? So the last thing that we did was preparing a business. How will you maintain the solution? So very nice, Shadab. So this actually comes in change strategy. Okay. So change strategy is basically, we're talking about organization change strategy. So how will you deploy this solution? How will you maintain this solution? Everything, all of that was actually covered in change strategy. And what we did was, the final thing that we did was we prepared a business case document, wherein we said that, once we know basically in business case document, what we're telling is the cost of developing and implementing this solution and the profit that you will gain after that solution is implemented. Okay, so you do something called cross profit analysis. You always basically calculate net present value, and then you prepare that business case document. Only once we prepare the business case document and share it with our customers, State Bank of India, they reviewed the business case. Now this business case document will have output from all of these 5 tasks. And when we prepared that summary, some people even call it investment summary document. So when we shared that document with the customer, then, the project was approved. So what I'm saying is, before you even started working on online banking portal, there was a total of 3-month work that we did. So this entire knowledge area happened over 3 months, right? It was a complex program. So if it's a simple project, you can complete strategy analysis maybe in few weeks. But since it was a complex program, considering SBI never offered online banking before, So before even we started working on the solution, online banking doesn't mean website. As I tell, online banking could be direct banking, SMS banking, or it could be a website as well, right? So then we, did all of these things. We prepared the business case document. We prepared the net present value as well. We did the cost profit analysis. And once business case was approved, which included the change strategy as well, the transition requirements that they need to work on, the business requirement they need to work on, then only we started working on the website development. Does that make sense? Strategy analysis. Any question till now, please, before we move ahead to other knowledge areas? So how many of you actually did strategy analysis? So anybody did strategy analysis? Like, have you got involved in working on defining the change strategy document or defining the business case document or the risk assessment? I know most of you must be involved in BRD because that is something very basic thing to do. But anybody got involved in this last 3 tasks?
Team.
I think I understand, it's probably the first week of the year and all of us are coming back from a long vacation. But having said that, this is very, very important that you understand these knowledge areas, and we will show you the templates as well so that you can relate to what we are speaking about. But please feel free to ask your queries. As I said, there will be a quiz during the session. Every day we will be having quiz. Even today we will have a quiz. And also we will have a full-fledged exam, 1-hour exam next weekend. So please feel free to ask me your queries. I will be more than happy to, answer those queries. Okay, so this is what we do in strategy analysis. And after strategy analysis, what we do is, before you start working, now as business analyst, we never develop the product. So before the product starts getting developed, so once the business case document was approved, I prepared that business case document for this entire initiative. Then my project manager came in and he has to do the planning. Okay.
Mohit,
now, yeah.
Sorry,
Yes.
I have a question. When you say you define the business case document, cost and profit analysis, what cost have you identified and what profit analysis have you done? You are saying that how much profit you'll be gaining after deploying this application or changing doing this innovation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Profit you are saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So Suresh, very good question. So I will show you an example of business case document as well. So today we will actually deep dive into strategy analysis. But if you see, the cost of when we define the cost, so this cost cannot be estimated by business analyst alone. So he has to work with the project manager to understand the cost of developing this solution. So basically, we did the resource estimation for this particular solution that we are developing, looking at the business requirement, the kind of resources we require, the kind of vendors we need to develop the solution, the technology, the hardware we need. So we did, guys, please mute yourself. Yeah, so we did, the cost estimation together. Then when we said profit, we said that, okay, now what we expected that once we go online, once we start offering online banking, we did some assumption that this is the approximate number of increase of customers that we are expecting now. Because as I said, when you are offering branch banking, your reach to customer is limited, right? You cannot open branches all around the city. So we said that once we become online, we can expect more customers to be part of the bank. Once, we expected the growth in the products and services that we offer to the customer once you become online. And then we estimated the profit at a very, very high level for each of those products and services that we were offering through the website. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's a very, very complicated document, a business case document. In 2005, that when we created this business case document, we hired someone from McKinsey who actually helped us in strategy analysis. Because when we did the business need of the customer, I'm just giving you an example. You don't only do the current state of the organization that you are working for, which is State Bank of India. We did the benchmarking, we did the competitor analysis as well. We did something called SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. So all of that requires a lot of, domain expertise. So at that point of time, we hired someone from McKinsey to help us, do the strategy analysis and come up with the actual numbers in the business case document. Okay.
Mohit, Jayesh,
yeah.
You mentioned that while giving the solution, you said that you had mentioned direct banking, SMS banking website, right?
Yeah, yeah. These were the options that we discussed.
Exactly. And at that time, SMS banking was not much because mobiles were not used. Okay.
Right.
And at the end, you decided that website banking or website solution was the one which we should be recommending.
Yes.
Why was that? Like, I would like to know, why did he went for website and not for direct banking or call center banking?
Yeah. So see, if you see direct banking, the cost of banking in direct banking is also very, very high. So if you see, when you set up any bank, they prefer website or mobile banking in today's world. The reason being the cost of serving customer drastically reduced, because if you once you prepare the website, let's say if I have to check the account balance, I need not contact my bank at all. I will just log in into my website. This is my website, right? And I will be able to check the account balance. But
so direct banking, direct banking basically you're referring to branch banking or customer care. Okay,
customer care over
right?
the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So in direct banking, again, the cost of banking was high because you have to have first telecom infrastructure. You need to have a toll-free number for which you have to pay. For a customer, it's toll-free. Not for the bank, it's not toll-free. Then you need to have customer agents, who will be receiving the customer call. They will be doing the, online ID verification, and then they will be sharing the account balance and account statement, so on. So that's the reason. So when we looked at, the current state and all, yeah.
Okay, as you mentioned, the solution is website banking. Yeah. So understanding the SBI customer base at that time in 2005.
Yeah.
And as we know, SBI is a bank which would be there in all the states, all the districts, and in the remote locations also.
Yeah.
So how would these people come to website, or where in India in 2005, internet was like बहुत rich people could take it, and not even a tech savvy guy. मतलब जब तक I am not a tech savvy guy, I would 10 times think going on to an internet, putting my password and thinking like, yeah, I don't know, all this I can't understand. I just know मेरा पैसा कितना आता है, कैसा निकालने का, that's it.
Absolutely.
So being an SBI based customer, why would I do? I don't have computers at that time with high internet, and understanding the security point of view, what happens.
Absolutely. So that's the reason, so when we worked, and that's the reason, very good question, in fact, Suresh.
So would that really help the bank, like, sir, वो website पे जाइए, मुझे ये सब नहीं आता है.
Right.
So he would land up again coming to an, what do you say, the branch only, and increase their whatever. See,
Absolutely.
Basically banks were going into alternative banking because they don't want people to come at the branches more, gather there, udhar gardi karo and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
So
they
Jayesh,
started looking for
yeah,
alternative banking.
absolutely, Jayesh. So Jayesh, let me answer you in the interest of the
Hmm.
time. So if you see Jayesh, just to quickly answer you, we actually worked on something called change strategy. We never offered website to everybody in one go. In fact, we started launching website, in tier one city, because this is where the growth was happening. And I was in Gurgaon in 2005, and more people like me, the millennials, we call it, they definitely had access to computers. In fact, I was working for TCS at that point of time. And that's the reason this change strategy is very, very important. You might have a fantastic product, but you have to, understand how will you launch that product. So for example, even today we have SMS banking. If you dial something called star 99 hash, sorry, it's, just give me a minute. It is star 99 hash. You can try, today. Even today we have SMS banking, and I believe it's one of the most, I will say, simple and effective banking channel that we have today. Because let's say you do not have access to internet, you have a very, very weak telecom connection. Let's say you are on a mountain and you want to buy a simple Maggie and on the hilltop. You don't have cash, you do not have internet, you will be able to pay through UPI via SMS banking. How many of us know about that? And just try this star 99 hash, you will struggle a lot. In fact, in today's world, you will prefer mobile, over on top of this SMS banking. I hate direct banking. The wait time today, even today, is huge. I am a preferred customer for ICICI Bank. Even today, if I call the ICICI Bank for any complaint, the wait time is approximately close to 5 minutes. So what I'm saying is very valid input. When you understand your customer, and when we say customer, we understand the product, services, procedures, geographical distribution, and all of that. Then you define the change strategy. So we said, okay, we will launch website, and not only we were having resistance from customer, we were having resistance from internal employees as well. So in part of change strategy, we defined something called transition requirements, wherein we define the training program for the basic computer awareness, even for the bank employees. So all of them used to travel to Gurgaon. The training center that we developed was in Gurgaon. All the bank employees who used to address the customers from tier one, they used to actually travel over the weekend to the training center to understand basics of computer, right? Like what is a CPU, what is a monitor, what is the, so that if they get queries from the customer, they should be able to address that as well. So we started very small in 2005, 2006, wherein we launched, and slowly, as we defined in the change strategy, that this is how the solution will be deployed and will be rolled out to more and more customers in due course of time. Even today, we face similar challenges. I completely agree with you. If I launch, when UPI was launched, you remember the UPI that was launched was Google Tej. They call it Google Pay. So because I am from payment background, so I love that product. I'm talking about 2 years ago. You won't remember, I spoke to my brother who also worked with the bank, but he's not from a payment domain. He never, installed Google Tej. He said, no, I'm not interested. I don't understand UPI. It took me close to 6 months to convince him to install an app. And by the time he installed the app, the name changed from Tej to become, GPay. We call it GPay. And forget that, even if you look at from the villages and all, even today, they don't feel comfortable with UPI. They don't understand, because in GPA, once you log in, you log in by your email ID. And if your email ID changes, all the payments the record of payment that you have made on the GPay will get lost. So what I'm saying is, even tier 2, tier 3 cities, even today, they struggle to understand UPI. And that's the reason fintechs like Bharat Pay and so on, they are coming into the picture to simplify UPI for everybody. But having said that, this entire curriculum is not about payments. This curriculum is about strategy analysis and what we need to do as a business analyst. So that is something we'll cover. Okay. So let's go ahead if you don't have any queries in the interest of the time. But I hope, Jayesh, I was able to answer you. So what we do is after the business case document that was done, we did something called we have to do a planning, which project manager does, right? Now when project manager does the planning, he does plan from all aspects. He plans from business analysis perspective. He plans from software development perspective, quality assurance perspective, and so on. So as a business analyst, you have to do the planning from your end, right? And then you give your plans to your project manager. He will consolidate the plans from various departments. When I say departments, business analysis, development, quality assurance, and so on, and he will create the consolidated plan. Okay. So there is one knowledge area that we will cover tomorrow, which is BA planning and monitoring, wherein we'll tell you what kind of planning a BA does. Okay. So BA actually helps PM understand whether we should go waterfall or agile. This is very important. So BA does that. BA also help PM understand what kind of stakeholders we need to work for this particular project or a program. This is very important because looking at the BRD. So if let's say if you are working on a mobile payment platform, you will need stakeholders related to that mobile payment platform, right? So you will need maybe a representative from MasterCard or representative from Visa. If you're working on tokenization with Apple Pay, you need a representative from Apple. So you need to plan the kind of stakeholders you need as a PA, right? So you will define that as well. And you will share all of that with PM so that he can ensure that the stakeholders are present as per your requirement. Okay. So you do, so if you see, we will cover something called this BA planning and monitoring. All of this I'm talking about here, right? Then you also plan something called stakeholders. The third thing is you define that, what kind of artifacts you will be creating and the templates that you will be using. That totally depends on whether you are going waterfall or agile. You also plan how will you manage change in those artifacts. That is also very important. And finally, you also come up with metrics which can evaluate your performance as a PA. Okay, so this is what you do as part of BA planning and monitoring. Now, most of you will say you never did this BA planning and monitoring. The reason being, this is done by something called, in most of the organization, PMO, Project Management Office. They actually, do a lot of, they actually have what this office does, they standardize planning for various organizations. Okay, so basically the artifacts that you will be creating, the template of the artifacts is something well defined by PMO. The process for managing change in those artifacts is also defined by PMO. Even the metrics that you should use in order to evaluate performance of various, resources is also defined by PMO. Even the waterfall agile decision matrix is defined by PMO. So this planning and monitoring BA does, and share his inputs to the PM so that he can create the consolidated plan. But please do remember, in most of the organization, I don't know about NSCIT, but in most of the organization, we have something called Project Management Office who does this entire planning in standardized manner. So we'll talk about BA planning and monitoring tomorrow in detail as well. Okay, any question on this knowledge area, BA planning and monitoring? So we have covered first knowledge area, which is strategy analysis. I'm just giving you a very high level overview. The second knowledge area is BA planning and monitoring. Any question from anyone, please? They can unmute.
Yeah, just for the information purpose, Mohit. Yeah, PMO department is there. I'm dealing with that only.
Very nice, very nice.
So we need to cover if any expectation in respect of PMO, then you can brief about that as well, and we will take care of that part too.
Very
it is
nice.
there in NSCIT.
Okay, great, perfect. So in most of the organizations we do have PMO, but when I travel to Dubai and Qatar, and I was giving them this overview, so I realized that PMO is somehow not well structured in the organizations over there, and that is what it was causing a lot of issues across various projects and programs. So if you have a well-defined PMO, trust me, 90% of the issues that you face in the projects and programs gets resolved, because what they do is they standardize the way of working for your particular organization. And once standardization happens, there is similarity across various projects and programs. You define the expectations for various team members that this is what you are supposed to work and how you are supposed to work. And the standards need to be getting updated with time. So as the organization matures, the standards has to mature as well. So this is also very important. Okay. So BA planning and monitoring is done. The third thing that you start doing is, if you see, is elicitation. Now, what happened is, now elicitation definitely is a horizontal knowledge area, because whenever you are talking to someone, elicitation is nothing but discovering information. You not gather information, you discover information. Now the time has passed by wherein you gather information. Even if you go to a restaurant, when the waiter comes to you, he never takes the order. He actually discover what you need. That time you are acting as a customer, and that waiter is acting as a business analyst, right? So whenever you go to a good restaurant, it will never happen that the waiter will just ask you what you want and he will just write it down and get it for you. You actually discover the requirements together. So the waiter will ask you about your taste, how you're feeling today, what you would like to have, whether you would like to have something light and so on. And then he will suggest some things for you. And then you will decide, okay, as per these suggestions made by the waiter, that this is what you want. So basically what he's doing at that point of time, he's doing elicitation. And this is what we need to do. So please remember, even today, when I work with various banks, I have seen that especially people from India, when they're working with the stakeholders in US and Europe, they're never in elicitation mode. They're always, they are always in a gathering mode. So you tell us what you want and we will do it for you. They'll never even question back even if they feel that this requirement is not required, or this requirement needs a change. They never even question that. So all the banks that I have worked after coming back to India, and whenever we approach our online stakeholder as part of the metrics that we define, the feedback that we get, and this is consistent across banks, that people in India, when we work with them, we are excellent executors. We really execute the tasks really well. But the problem is we don't speak up when it is required to speak, right? We always feel a little constrained in sharing our opinion and in our view. And this is something we have to change, right? So if you see, the best thing when I work with Europe or, my US stakeholder, even if they don't know things, they are very pretty, confident about it. They say, they completely tell everybody that they are new to this subject. They are here to learn, and they question a lot, right? And they do their research, and then in the next meeting, they come up with their opinion, and this is how they work. And this is what is expected as of today. So, and that's the reason BA Bock, if you have read, see this chapter, Lakshmi will be sharing this book with all of you. So Elicitation, they focus on, discovering information together in a collaborative manner. Okay. And not, so never use the word requirement gathering. You say requirement elicitation, right? Wherein you give the confidence to the stakeholder that having the requirements is not only his job, having the requirements right is also your job as well. Okay, so I give you a classic example. When I was working on SEPA, Single European Payments Area. So I was working for a European client, and they have absolutely not idea what is SEPA all about, the stakeholder that I'm working with. And it was a SEPA, direct debit mandate for B2B customer. And they had no idea, what should be the requirements and what is this concept all about, how the mandates are taken by the banks, how they have to be managed, what is the creditor ID and so on. So what we did was, as a business analyst, so I was never called a business analyst at that point of time. I was started being called as a product owner. So this ownership, and that's the reason business analyst word is becoming outdated, right? In today's world, everybody calls you product owner. The reason is they want ownership from you, right? You cannot tell tomorrow if a particular requirement goes wrong. Let's say customer says this is what they never expected. You developed a wrong requirement. You cannot tell that you got this requirement from this stakeholder. He or she should be held responsible. At the end of the day, you are also you also have to take the ownership of the product that you are developing. And this is where elicitation comes about. And this is the reason we have started hiring product owners and not the business analysts. Okay, so when we interview people for product owners, we ask them how you challenge the requirements, how you gathered the requirements. And this is how we get to know whether he was just in a listening mode or he or she actually discovered the requirements along with their stakeholder. Okay. Now, I hope you understand the difference between the product owner and the business analyst. So product owner actually owns the change, and he or she is actually responsible for the success and failure of the change. Okay. So this is the role becoming very, very popular in today's world. And product manager is nothing but when you are working on multiple products at the same time, you become a product manager. So it's a senior product owner. So if you're working on 2-3 products at a time, they give you the designation as a product manager, as simple as that. So you might have some product owners who will be working for you as a product manager. Okay, so we'll talk about elicitation as well in our curriculum. And also after elicitation, what you do is you actually start defining the requirement documents. So you start something called requirement analysis and design definition. Let me mention that. So basically what happened is, now you have written the BRD. Now BRD is a very high level document that you have written for the purpose of business case. Now in requirement analysis and design definition, you do a detailed requirement. So you define something called low-level requirements. You even define functional specifications. And over here, you actually define your non-functional requirements as well. Okay. So what you should consider while you define your requirements, we will cover in a knowledge area called requirement analysis and design definition. Okay. So in requirement analysis, as the word suggests, basically you analyze. So as a BA, you get a lot of information from various stakeholders, right? So as a BA, you have to analyze what is the best way of documenting that information. That is very, very important. You know, what kind of UML you should be following up, whether it's a use case diagram or a sequence diagram or, you know, process flow diagram. So as a BA, it's your job to make sure that not only you understand the information yourself first, and then you document that information in such a manner that all the team members who are working along with you, whether it's a developer, quality assurance, they understand your documents really well. And that's the job of a PA. Okay. So we will talk about requirement analysis as well as one of the knowledge area. So what knowledge areas we have covered? Strategy. So we have covered the first knowledge area is strategy analysis. The second knowledge area is BA planning and monitoring. We talk about that. The third knowledge area is elicitation. We talked about that. And the fourth knowledge area is your requirement analysis and design definition. The fifth knowledge area that we will talk about is requirement lifecycle management. So basically, now you have defined the documents here, right? Low-level requirement, functional specification, non-functional requirement. Now in requirement lifecycle management, as the name suggests, you manage the lifecycle of the requirements. So basically over here, you will manage the change in requirements, right? So you defined how you manage change, you know, in BA planning and monitoring. So that plan was decided here, but here you will execute that plan. So you will manage change in requirements here as per the plan that you defined in BA planning and monitoring. So you manage change in requirements. You do something called, you define traceability of the metrics, traceability of requirements over here, right? This is very important. You upload the requirements in a SharePoint for future reuse, right? Upload for reuse. Very simple, you know, you define something called priority over here of the requirements. This is very, very important. The reason the priority you define, because accordingly the requirements will be picked by the software development team from a development perspective. So you do a lot of stuff in requirement lifecycle management. As the name suggests, you manage the lifecycle of requirements. Analysis, they use the word analysis because they want to say that you analyze the information and then decide how will you document it. So basically, it's nothing but requirement documentation here. But here you define you manage, how will you manage the life cycle of the requirements. Does that make sense? And the last thing that you do now, after this, you have done, once you have prioritized your requirements and everything, then your developer and testing team, they will pick up the requirement, they will develop the solution. But once they have developed the solution, you will actually do the solution evaluation as well. Okay, so this is also very, very important. So you do the solution evaluation. Now you might feel that if we have a quality assurance team that does the solution evaluation, then why a BA is required to do the solution evaluation. So what kind of solution evaluation is done by BA? We will also talk about that as well. And this will be our last knowledge area that we will discuss. And also finally, we will talk about Agile at a very high level, and also tell you, once I've shared you about Agile, then we will also tell you how these 6 knowledge areas are executed in Agile environment. Does that sound exciting? And this is how we will complete this entire curriculum. Okay. So solution evaluation is very, very important. You evaluate the solution as a BA to make sure that whatever requirements that you documented are met and the value that you were trying to achieve as part of this project is attained, or the problem which you're trying to solve is actually getting solved, or the opportunity that you're trying to leverage is actually you're able to leverage that opportunity. So you evaluate the solution and then you give the recommendations for future upgrades. Any questions
So,
from anyone? Yeah.
Mohit, just as an update that we need to talk about waterfall and agile methodologies, but we need to cover good amount at how we can shift to agile practices, especially in respect of requirement elicitation. Reason being that now gradually we are moving to the agile practices. And it is a need of today's business. So you need to concentrate on agile practices also. Okay.
Absolutely, Swati. So there's a complete last session dedicated on agile, and so wherein we will cover everything about agile. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And you need to cover it in a good manner because many team members are completely new to agile concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure that everybody understands what agile is all about. So what will happen, Swati, is once we have covered this task in detail, they will already have the strong foundation. And then all we need to understand is how these tasks are executed in agile environment.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah. Any question from anyone? So this is the time you ask your question because we are having a quiz now.
Mohit,
yeah. Yes,
sorry to interrupt you. If you could may not be today, maybe like by the time we end the session, if you could just tell us in brief, maybe that what could be a career path for a business analyst?
Very nice.
Yeah,
absolutely.
he starts from a junior business analyst. So where does he can see himself over a period of time?
Absolutely. I'll cover that now because that is something, very, very important. So if you see, as I said, a system analyst is someone who actually, we start as a system analyst. Now, as I said, the problem is we have fancy designations, fancy, titles, which adds to confusion. But when we talk purely from a role perspective, we start working as a system analyst, wherein you just work on the system specifications. So we call it as functional specification. People call it as functional specification, and we also define something called non-functional requirement. So this is what a system analyst does. Then a system analyst, once he or she becomes seasoned, he becomes a business analyst, wherein he actually start getting involved in strategy analysis, which is the first knowledge area that we covered. Sorry for my spellings. I'm just writing over the notepad. Okay, so this knowledge area that we covered, this is something you get involved if you are working as a business analyst, wherein you work with the architects in defining the solution, you do the risk assessment, work with lawyers and compliance officer, you work, with adoption management, change and management team to define the change strategy. You work on business case document and so on. So business analyst starts getting involved in that. They prepare something called business case as well. And then you become product owner, wherein you become the part of the businesses. Till here, you're part of technology. But as you become a product owner, you become part of business. Because now you own that particular change. So as I said, when you evaluate, so you evaluate whether the solution that you drafted is able to actually solve the problem or not. And you become the part of the business because you own that solution from a success and failure perspective. Then you become product manager, wherein you can manage multiple products at one go, but it requires a lot of domain expertise, so that very quickly you can manage multiple products at the same time. So let's say you become product manager in payments domain, so you can handle products like UPI, IMPS, USSD. There's a lot of payment products a bank could have. So you need to have domain expertise across the payment products so that you become a product manager. Finally, you become the product executive, which is wherein you head a particular line of business from product offering point of view. So basically you say, okay, what are you work at a very, very high level and you say that, okay, for this line of business, what kind of products we should offer. So at that point of time, when you become product executive, you do not get involved in projection programs on a daily basis. But what you do is you keep a tab on market and you always study your competitors. You are very well connected with your regulators, your industry bodies, and so on, and try to figure out what kind of product. So you always keep a tab on market and make sure that whatever current offering that you have is actually competitive, and whether you need to come up with new offerings or not. Does that make sense? So this is how you grow. So you start with a system analyst, you become business analyst, then you go to product owner, then you become product manager, and finally you become product executive, wherein you become you represent a particular line of business. It could be retail banking, corporate banking, and you own the overall product offering for that particular line of business. Okay, Shada?
Thanks, Mohit.
Thank you. So can we have a quiz now? So let me share the quiz. Okay, let me share, just give me a minute. And very simple quiz. Okay, so this is the questions I've given. I'm giving you 10 minutes. Okay, so read these questions and type your answers to these questions in the chat all in one go. Do not type answers one by one. It will become very clunky for me to understand. So what you need to do is note down the answers in your notepad and then type the answers of all of these questions in one go in the chat. Okay. And then after 10 minutes, we will look at your answers and then we'll go to the strategy analysis. Okay. I'm muting myself. I'm just going for a little water and then we'll get started. So 10 minutes I'm giving you. Please attend these 6 questions.
Yeah, can we move to answers? Mohit? Mohit, are you there? Hello.
Thank you so much, guys. I could see a lot of people have already given the answers. We'll just wait for 2 minutes more and then we'll get started. Okay, so I think we have got answers from most of you. So let's look at the questions. So which knowledge area gives you raw notes or information on material for BA documents? So the knowledge area that gives me raw notes is elicitation. Okay, so wherein you discover information in a collaborative manner. You get, the raw notes or information for your BA documents that you will define as part of requirement analysis. So the answer to that is elicitation. Okay, the answer is elicitation. So let me type that, the answers one by one. Then we have the second answer is which knowledge area you get BA docs signed off, right? So you get, so it's requirement lifecycle management. So if you see here, this requirement lifecycle management is basically when you get your requirements approved as well. Okay, so I can mention that as well. Proof of your requirements. So this is requirement lifecycle management. And don't worry, once we cover this knowledge area in detail, then everything will become even more clear. Okay, so let me type that again. Third is which knowledge area helps you validate whether a problem or a business need has indeed to be solved or not. If you recall, I told you, right, it's your solution evaluation, wherein you say whether the problem has been solved or not. Fourth is which knowledge area where you assess change in your BA documents. I think it was very simple because we actually covered that in detail. Is again your requirement lifecycle management. And the fifth one.
Change management or requirement lifecycle management, the fourth one.
The fourth one is requirement lifecycle management. So if you see the requirement lifecycle, so yeah, that's a very good point. Now, see, this change strategy is different. If I go back to my notes, generally people get confused with change strategy. In change strategy, you're not managing change in requirements. Please remember, the change strategy is, as I said, it's about the organization change. Like how will you deploy that change within the organization? So for example, if you are deploying online banking for your customer, how will you offer that online banking for your customer from an organization perspective? But requirement change, the change in the requirement, for example, if we said that one of the requirement is we need single factor authentication while we log into the website. Now the requirement change as per the RBI guideline is that you need two-factor authentication. Single factor authentication is no longer valid. So that change in requirement is something we manage in requirement lifecycle management. So this change we are talking about is the change in the requirement. Okay, so if you look at the question was which knowledge area, where you assess change in your requirements. That is something we call it as requirement lifecycle management. Okay, so the answer is requirement lifecycle management. So the fifth one is which knowledge area you decide BA documents. What BA documents do? When I say BA documents, basically your low-level requirement, functional specifications, and so on, and the templates for that documents. So you will define that in the knowledge area called BA planning and monitoring. Remember? So let me mention that as well. So this BA planning and monitoring, right? Artifacts and templates. So let me mention that. And the last one is the question was, which knowledge area helps you identify, analyze the business need, right? That is your strategy analysis. So that is very simple, right? So we talked about that.
Team, any questions? Whatever you have answered, and if there is a difference from answer from Mohit, we can discuss that. Feel free to ask questions.
Absolutely. Any query, please. So as I said, the exam that we are planning next weekend, it will be all the similar line. So you need not have to do any rectification from PA BOK, or you have to mug up, anything, because it will be a simple MCQ. The purpose of this exam is that you understand the concept. That's the purpose. And it will be on similar lines. So if you have any query, please do let me know. Okay. And do not worry if you feel that, you do not understand in detail, because what will happen is all of these 6 knowledge areas, as I said, we will actually deep dive one by one. So once we do that, then things will become even more clear.
Mohit, can you make the notepad little bigger so that
Yes.
I can?
Yes.
I can take down this.
Okay, so I have given you these questions over the chat, as you can see, and even the chat, I have given the answers as well, if you see. Okay. So the first one, elicitation. The second one is requirement lifecycle management. The third one, solution evaluation. The fourth one, again, requirement lifecycle management. The fifth one, BA planning and monitoring. And the last one is strategy analysis. Okay. So these are the 6 knowledge areas that we will master. And then, as I said, we will also cover how we will execute these knowledge areas in an agile format. Okay. Now, before we continue,
Mohit, just do a favor. Type these questions in the notes which you are preparing and your answer, so that people can, when they will go through with the recording, they can analyze themselves that where's the difference and why it is there.
Yeah, sure. So let me do that straight away.
Can you display that notepad of yours where you have given the explanation?
Yeah, your notepad on which you are making the recordings for reference now. So note down these questions over there and your respective answers, so that people can have a walkthrough of it when they are visiting the recording.
Okay. So let me do one thing. So these are my rough notes. So can I do one thing? If it helps you, I can ask Lakshmi to share these questions as well as the answers over the email, maybe to Swati, and then
Fine.
probably that will be
Fine.
fine, right? Yeah.
People
Great.
should be able to, like, whatever they have answered and whatever you have written, if some gap is there, they can think about it later, no?
Absolutely, absolutely, totally makes sense. So what I will do is, I will work with Lakshmi. I'll share the information. I will share the copy of BABOK and everything, and so that you guys can then start going through it. So I will do that for sure. So now, before we continue, should we take a break for 10 minutes, or you guys are fine?
People,
you need 10 minutes break. I know, it's break, please. Okay, so let's break for 10 minutes and we'll come back. What we'll do is I will give you a walkthrough of BABOK today, that what is BABOK and how it looks like, because this will become your guide after this curriculum is over. And then tomorrow onwards, we'll start deep diving into each of the knowledge areas. Okay, so we'll come back sharp. 10-minute break, so we'll come back 10:25. Okay, perfect. 10:25, and then we'll get started. And I'll give you a walkthrough of this BABOK, how you have to read this, and then we'll start deep diving into the knowledge areas from tomorrow onwards.
okay.
Hi everyone. I hope people are back now. If you are back, can you please confirm over the chat? Thank you, Shri. Perfect. Just give 2-3 minutes for everybody to come in. I know it was a very short break today. So while people are coming in, anybody has any query, please. Are you guys able to understand whatever we are discussing? Any feedback, any concern that you want to discuss with me, please? Anybody? Okay, I'll take it as no. We just wait for. Thank you, Shiris. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sridhar, for confirming. We'll just wait for 2-3 minutes and we get started. So anybody has cleared any certification? Like if you see the kind of certifications, I have done is CBAP, PMP, then DSTM, which is a very prominent agile certification. Then SAFE, which is a body which issues scaled agile certification. Anybody has done any process-based certification? I know some of you might have done technical certification or domain certification for sure, and related to capital markets. But anybody has done any process certification? Or anybody read BA before? Or this is the first time you're actually going through BA? You can answer over the chat as well. First time. Okay. No worries. So I think we can get started. I'll share my screen and then I'll let you know about BA. Okay. And from tomorrow onwards, we will actually start going through all of the knowledge areas. Right. I hope everybody can see my screen now. So please remember, if you see this, BA, as I said, BA is business analysis body of knowledge. Now, this book was, as I said, released in 2005. And if you see the way this book was released, prior to 2005, if you ask any business analyst what kind of tasks they perform, right? So everybody has their own interpretation. So in 2005, there was a very renowned certification called PMP. So if anybody was a PMP, it was considered to be a very renowned certification back then. But the problem with PMP was it was more focused on project manager certification. Basically, it defined what a project manager needs to do. So if you have read about PMP, it will define how a PM should manage cost, quality, time, resources, stakeholders, procurement, scope, and so on. So there were like total of, I think, 10 areas which a PM need to manage. I have listed some of them over here: cost, quality, time, resources, stakeholder, procurement, scope, and there were a few others as well. Risk is also something which a PM manages throughout the project life cycle. Okay, so this is what PMP speak about. but there was no book which defined what a BA needs to do. And that's the reason BA book was released in 2005. And the beauty about this book, as I said, is it defines the task that a BA needs to do, right? So we will cover these 30 tasks. So for example, I remember when I joined as a BA, I used to think BA never does any testing. Now BA work actually tells that BA does testing as well. What kind of testing BA does, we will learn during the solution evaluation phase. So that's one of the good things, that it actually summarizes the task that a BA needs to do. But the only problem with BA work is that they have not defined those 30 tasks in the order in which you execute them. So if you look at this BA book, I will share this book as well today. So this is the chapters. Can you see on the left hand side, right? So table of content is nothing but these are the table of content. So introduction is nothing. If you look at introduction, they have just tell you what is the purpose of BA book. Okay. So purpose of BA book, as I've told you, is to help you understand what task BA does, which is fine. You can skip that chapter. The second chapter is BA key concepts. Again, you can skip this chapter. Basically, what they have done is they have defined here some of the terminology that they use in the book. Okay. So for example, they have defined, when they say solution, what is a solution? When they say business need, what is the business need? You know, so they have defined what is the solution scope and so on. What is the business requirement? What is the transition requirement? What is the stakeholder requirement? Right? What is the functional requirement and so on. So they have spoken about all of that. So BA key concepts is nothing but they have just explained the terminology that they have used in this entire book. So chapter 1 and 2 is just an introduction, if you ask me. And Ilham, you're right, it's the name of the PMP, the book that they have given is PM book, right? So which is Project Management Body of Knowledge. Very nice. So if you see, they have 10 chapters in PM book. I've given you some of the chapters: scope, quality, time, resources, stakeholder, procurement, scope, risk. So how you manage that? There were 2 more. I am not recalling it now on top of my mind, but there are a total of 10 which you can manage, okay, as a PM. So if you see here, this chapter 1 and 2 is nothing but the introduction. Now, if you see, they talk about the first knowledge area, BA planning and monitoring, and this is where confusions start happening, because what happens is when you work as a BA, this is not the first knowledge area that you execute. The first knowledge area that you execute is strategy analysis. So if you have to make meaning out of this BA work, never start from chapter 3, actually start from chapter number 6. Okay, because just give me 1 minute. Sorry for that. Yeah. So actually my next batch will start at 11. So I'm getting calls for that. No worries. So what I'm saying is that, let me keep it silent. Yeah. So strategy analysis is something which, you do it as a first knowledge area and not the BA planning and monitoring. So chapter 6 is something that you should read first, wherein they will help you understand how you create a business case document. As simple as that. After strategy analysis, you should then read chapter number 3, which is BA planning and monitoring, as we have explained today, wherein once your business case is approved, before you start working on the project, you need to do the planning. Okay, so we call it BA planning and monitoring. So after BA planning and monitoring is done, you actually start gathering information, or you discovering information, I would say, for your requirement document, which is nothing but elicitation and collaboration. Okay. So the next chapter, you should read chapter number 4. After that, just see, how they have done. They have spoken about requirement lifecycle management, which is wrong. You should read the chapter called chapter number 7, which is requirement analysis and design definition. Because the elicitation gives you information for your requirement document, and then you document that information in your artifacts, which is requirement analysis and design definition. Okay, so you have to do that. And then you do requirement lifecycle management, which is you manage change in your requirements, chapter number 5. And finally, you read solution evaluation, which is your how you evaluate the solution. Does that make sense to everybody? And that's the reason BA is very, very confusing, because most of the students, they actually read BA in a wrong manner. So you have to read in the order in which you execute this knowledge area. So you start with chapter number 6, then you go for, chapter number 3, then chapter number 4, then your chapter number 7, then your 5, and then finally your chapter number 8. If you read these knowledge areas in this order, you will be able to understand everything. Okay, number 1. Then there is a chapter on underlying competencies. Again, this is, there is no need to deep dive into this chapter, because all it tells you is that as a business analyst, you need to have certain competency, like you need to have honesty, you need to have integrity, you need to have domain knowledge, you need to have, basically analytical thinking and problem solving skills, you need to have communication skills, interaction skills, so all of that. So what are the soft skills a BA should have so that he or she can execute this, 6 knowledge areas comfortably? Finally, they have spoken about certain techniques like, SWOT analysis, sequence diagram, class diagram, your, brainstorming, and there are a lot of techniques they have spoken about. So you can definitely, go through those techniques as well at a very, very high level. So this is how BA is written. And if you ask me, anybody can read this book in 1 week, provided he or she read it in a proper manner. So start with, as I said, these knowledge areas in appropriate manner. Do not spend time on introduction or key concepts, because at the end of the day, it's just an introduction. Underlying competencies, as I told you, they are just summarized in the first page itself. No need to go in detail. Techniques also, there are a lot of techniques which they are mentioned, which are completely outdated for today. So focus on those techniques, which we actually use as of today. So we'll cover that as well, right? So this is how this entire book has been structured. Then they have mentioned perspective. So basically perspective, again, you can skip this chapter, because perspective is nothing but basically they have said, over here they have defined the industries where BA has become very, very popular now. The role of a BA has become popular. Again, it is very outdated because it was written, quite a decade ago. So they're saying that BA is becoming very popular in information technology. We all know that. Business intelligence is becoming very important. Now, if you're working in fintech, like Cred, or all those fintechs that we have, Paytm and all, as a BA, you need to have understanding of basic analysis skill as well. So analytics skills as well. So you need to have a knowledge of spreadsheet, how you work on Excel. You need to have, basically understanding of Tableau and so on. The reason being, as a BA, if you have to analyze the data, you need to have data analytics skills. So they're talking about business intelligence as well. You need to understand Agile, which we will cover on the last session, because BA is becoming more and more oriented towards Agile phenomena. Then business architecture is something, what they're telling is that when you are working, let's say you are working in a bank and you're working in a debit card, right? You are working in a change in a debit card. So let's say you're launching contactless technology in debit card. So you need to understand the impact on other products as well. So we have credit cards, We have prepaid cards. We have a lot of cards available from a bank point of view. So if you are making a change in debit card from a business architecture point of view, you need to understand, this change, what impact. You should come up with the change in such a manner that tomorrow, if you have to launch contactless technology for credit card and prepaid card, you should be able to do that in a much more easier manner, okay, and not have to reinvent everything from scratch. So that's the kind of mindset you should have, and also business process management, wherein they say that whenever you work on any change as a BA, make sure you work with your procedures, your operations team, and define the target operating model as well. This is very, very important. We launch products, but we do not work with our operations team, and we really sometimes miss defining the procedures in order to support that product after it goes live. So as a BA, it's your responsibility to make sure that all the procedures and operations are well defined in order to support that product on an ongoing basis. So you can go through that perspective at a very high level, but this is what they're telling is that as a BA, make sure that you understand Agile, you have some understanding of analytic skills, you understand information technology. All of you are part of IT, so you already understand that. But I have worked with students who doesn't even understand what is a microservice, what is an API, right? There are a lot of people who have never worked on information technology. Then always have that high level understanding of the overall business architecture, and also work with your operations to define the procedures so that your product is well supported throughout its life cycle. Okay, so this is what they have mentioned. And if you see every knowledge area, if I take strategy analysis, which we will deep dive from tomorrow, so every knowledge area has tasks. So let me show you here. So we have tasks. Remember, we said analyze current state, we have define future state, assess risk, define strategy. So all these tasks are there. They have given some of the inputs for this task, basically the information that you require in order to execute this task, and the information that you will gain after you have executed this task. Okay, so this is nothing but output. So if you see here, right hand side we have output, and the left hand side we have input. Now please remember, you need not memorize the tasks, the inputs and output. As I said, it's not a curriculum which you have to just mug up. It's not a theoretical subject. We have to understand practical implication of all of these. So even though they have mentioned some of the inputs, they have clearly said that these are not the exhaustive list of inputs. There could be more inputs required to execute this task. They have just mentioned some of the prominent inputs and some of the prominent outputs. So please do not remember anything of that. Just understand the task from your practical application point of view. So if you are able to do that, your job is done. And this is how we will cover this curriculum. And also this is how the quiz and the exam will be structured. So this is what BA Bog is all about. Any questions till now from anyone from BA Bog? And we will share a copy. So I will talk to Lakshmi immediately after this call. And Lakshmi will be sharing it with the coordinator. And then the coordinator will be sharing with all of you. Don't worry, you'll get a copy of BA Bog. Okay. Then please remember, we will give you the exam. You will clear that exam. It will be a very simple exam. So do not get worried. 50 questions in 60 minutes. And all you need to score is just 50% of them correctly. So, and trust me, if you listen to me carefully, you will be able to clear the exam, within 20 to 25 minutes. You won't even require 1 hour, right? So Lakshmi from Learning Deck, she will be putting up that exam on platform and sharing the link with you. Date, they will figure it out with you when you can sit for the exam, 1 hour exam, probably next Saturday if everybody is fine with that, and then you can sit for that. Okay, very simple exam, do not worry about that. And so 50 question exam it will be. But if you see, even this BA book is actually released by IIBA. So IIBA actually releases this certification. So if I show you the certification, just give me a minute. So there are various certification levels. So I have done CBAP. So if you see the exam that we will execute for you will be on the difficulty level of ECBA, which is entry level certificate in business analysis. That's the level we will have it. Very simple exam. As I said, 1 hour long exam, which will consist of 50 multiple choice questions. Okay. But this IIBA body, which is International Institute of Business Analysis, they are based out of Canada. They are the one who wrote this book, right? They conduct various level of exam. So of all the levels of exam, the good thing is the book remains same, which is BA book. The only difference is level of difficulty of questions changes. So ECBA is the simplest one. The exam that we will conduct is from ECBA point of view. Then we have CCBA, which is a little tougher. You get a little bit scenario level question. You require some BA experience for that in order to clear that exam. Then we have CBAP, which is even more tougher, right? I did CBAP. You require more than 5 years of BA experience. So please remember they're talking about BA experience and not your number of year of experience. So basically they actually validate how much time you spend in executing those 630 tasks that we will understand as part of this curriculum. Okay, so they are evaluating your experience in those 30 tasks. So that CBAP exam, if you see CCBA exam, it is of 3 hour long exam and it has 130 multiple choice questions, CCBA. Whereas CBAP is a 3.5 hour long exam and it contains 150 multiple choice questions. Okay, in CCB you have small case study, whereas CBAP you have a bigger case study, and also you need professional training. So this entire curriculum that we are having, it will give you professional development hours. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because you get this training from us. If in case any one of you want to sit for the real exam as well, let's say any one of you feel that you should sit for the exam, you can definitely do for that. The syllabus remains same, and then you can sit for any of these levels as per your preference. But what I've seen is, actual certification definitely had value, used to add value, but nowadays, when we interview people, we really don't interview people, hire people because they're CBAP certified or CCBA certified or ECBA certified. But we hire people on basis of their experience and actual practical understanding of a business analyst role. So if you have that, then you can easily, crack any interview. It could be an internal interview, external interview as well. So even if you're working internally in your organization, and generally, when we start making a team within a project, we do interview people, right? So if I am launching, let's say we were working on a tokenization product, so we will interview candidates from within the organization. So we always try to see how much business analysis experience one has and not whether he or she has a certificate or not. But having said that, if you really want to go for a certificate, you can definitely go. This entire curriculum will empower you to sit for the real certification as well, if you would like to attain one. Okay. Just for your knowledge, as I said, there are multiple levels of certification. The syllabus remain absolutely same. The only difference is the level of difficulty of the exam. And because there is a difference in level of difficulty, they require different level of experience to sit for that exam. So ECBA, you require 0 year of experience as a BA. CCBA, you require 2 to 3 years of BA experience. CBAP, you require more than 5 years of BA experience. Okay, so this is the various levels that we have. Okay, so what we will do is from tomorrow onwards, as I said, we will start deep diving into each of these knowledge areas. As you can see, we will start with strategy analysis, tomorrow. And also we will cover BA planning and monitoring tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, we will cover, requirement analysis and design definition and elicitation. Then we will cover requirement lifecycle management and solution evaluation on Friday. So this way we will cover the 6 knowledge areas, as you can see over here. And also, if you see, for every knowledge area, we will have quiz. So I show you, for example, strategy analysis that we'll cover tomorrow. I will show you some of the templates as well that we create, like idea outline, business case, change and implementation summary, and so on. And also we will have quiz as well. Also, we will look at some of the techniques also tomorrow when we are covering a particular knowledge area. So this way we will make sure that you not only understand this task from a theoretical concept point of view, but you understand this task from a practical application point of view as well. Okay. And the last task we will cover on Agile. So this is the Agile. So I'll show you. Okay, so I will cover this Agile high level overview. So we'll cover all of that, all these things. Okay. And also I'll give you a summary that how basically we execute these knowledge areas in an Agile environment. Any questions, please, from anyone? And my request to all of you, please make it a little more interactive. It makes me feel, involved as well as a trainer. Otherwise, sometimes it feels as if I'm speaking to myself. So, related to your experience, if you have any query, any doubt, feel free to raise it in the class itself. And as I said, we will make sure we'll keep it very interesting, because after every knowledge area, we will have a quiz, just the way we had quiz today. In a similar manner, we will have a quiz after the end of every knowledge area. Okay. And then, as I said, probably next weekend, we will have your actual 1 hour exam as well, based out of 50 questions. Okay. So thank you so much, everybody, for today's session. It was just the first session. I just wanted to give you the introduction, what we will cover, and what are the various knowledge areas that we will master. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll start deep diving into the knowledge areas. Thank you, Shri. Thank you so much, everybody. Lovely talking to you. And
Thanks, Mohit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohit.
Mohit will help if we can include more quizzes and case studies. Then he would be able to participate more.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I wish
then interaction will get increased, actually.
Absolutely, Swati. And see, the thing is, I have a lot of examples from my work experience. So I will be covering more and more examples so that people can relate to each of these knowledge areas. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow sharp at 8 a.m. Have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.